What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Keelan, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my review for X in preparation for its prequel film Pearl coming out tomorrow. I think I have tickets to go see it tomorrow. I don't know. I got a lot of damn movie tickets. I can't keep track. But anyways, before I get into my review, I just want to say if you have not seen X, I recommend you pause this video, go onto Prime Video, rent it for $6, and watch it now. Stop this video, go watch it, and then come back and we can talk about it. Alright, now that you went and watched X like I told you to, you're ready to listen to my review. To give a brief synopsis, X is about a group of aspiring filmmakers that set out to make an adult film on a farm in Texas. But when the elderly couple that owns the farm find out what they're up to, the group has to fight to stay alive. What is going on? I'm so sorry, y'all. It's 9 in the morning. I got bedhead. I tried to fix it. It didn't work. So y'all just gonna get what you're gonna get. But that's not really what you guys are here for to begin with, so it doesn't matter. Right? Whatever. I try to fix it. That's all I'm doing. It's in my eye, but it's fine. It tickles a little bit. Anywho, so I knew that I was in for a pleasant surprise when I realized X is produced by A24, who's also commonly known for giving us movies like Hereditary, Midsommar, Green Room, the list goes on and on. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That one just came out a couple of months ago. And they'll also be producing the prequel film. And I was excited because anything that A24 is attached to is always very unique, very stylized, and they always tackle concepts and topics that all these other big film companies want to avoid for controversial reasons or whatever the case may be. They avoid them, or they just maybe feel like they can't do a good job, but for whatever reason, the people at A24, they know what the fuck they're doing. They take these commentary or these social commentary topics, these concepts, and they make a good movie out of it, a good horror movie. I mean, they don't just do horror movies, but I've mainly just seen their horror movies. I think they even produced Euphoria, if I'm not mistaken, so they're very versatile over there, but their fucking horror movies kick ass. It's written and directed by Ty West, who also did The Innkeepers, The House of the Devil. I think he did a segment on VHS, and he did a segment on the ABCs of Death. And our cast includes Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Owen Campbell, Martin Henderson, Kid Cudi, and Brittany Snow. Now, honestly speaking, the only two things that I even knew about this movie going into it was that it was produced by A24, and that Jenna Ortega was in it. I knew that prior, and that's it. That's all I knew. And I'm a huge slasher fan. Big slasher fans, my favorite genre of horror. So going into this, watching this movie, seeing everything unfold, realizing that it's a slasher film, it was a treat for me. It was awesome, especially since the first half of the film is very slow burn, and then once that midway point happens and starts to go and it gets really good, it stays good till the very end. So it was like this movie just has multiple different facets of itself that you can sit and you can enjoy if you're a person that likes a slow burn, as Ty West typically does make. Excuse me. You can get that from this film. If you like a fast-paced slasher film, you can get that. You just kind of have to get to the slow burn first, but for me it wasn't too hard. I really liked the characters. I liked the buildup of the story. The story itself is unique. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where they're filming an adult film in the movie. And just to add to that point, the sections of the adult film, there's some explicit content in here, but it's really not what you would think it is. It's not as graphic. You're not seeing like P&V, none of that sort of stuff. It's just like basic horror movie nudity, nothing super graphic, like I said. So that if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, I would still recommend trying to check this movie out because it probably won't take you out of it. It's probably not going to be too much. But yeah, anyways, from the themes to the tones and to the plot, X felt like a love letter to all those classic slasher films that a lot of us have come to know and love, and just with like a more modern twist to it, a more modern look, and a better written storyline. So off rip, one of the main things that I noticed is how many callbacks to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, there were in this film. I mean, one of the first scenes we get is our group driving down Texas roads in a van. Then they stop at a gas station. And then they stop at a farmhouse. They end up at a farmhouse, which are like the three main components of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre story. and they're in Texas. So those were just some callbacks. And then also like they kind of had this like grit and grain filter over the camera that gives it that kind of grindhouse dirty feeling, which is the same thing that Texas Chainsaw Massacre had. So that kind of helped set the tone too. And this movie is set in the 70s, and whoever was in charge of doing the costumes, the hair, or the set design, they all need a raise because they fucking nailed it. Like I said, the way the people are dressed, 70s as fuck. The hairstyles, 70s as fuck. The set design, 70s.
These nuts. Got him!
You know, even the music that they play in this film, it's all from the 70s. So it's very time capsule-esque. Like, they made it feel like the 70s. They put you in that time era, and it just adds another nuance to the film. And then another cool thing that I noticed is the way that Ty West framed certain shots. Like one of the very first opening scenes, I think it is the opening scene, it's these barn doors and you're looking out, but it doesn't look like barn doors at first. You think it's just framed in the 4:3 aspect ratio. And then once the camera starts to move in and you start to realize that you're inside the barn doors and that it's actually, you know, a wider shot, that's fucking cool. Especially because they do that sort of 4:3 framing in shots throughout the film, but also the adult film that they're filming is in 4:3 aspect ratio. So whenever we see scenes from Owen Campbell's character, RJ, he's the director of the film. Whenever he's shooting a shot and they show us the perspective or the point of view from his camera, it's in that 4:3 aspect ratio. So it's just like a cool little nod, cool little tie-in. And then another thing that I wanted to point out that I noticed that I like, something that I wrote down in my notes when I was trying to take my notes for this review. There's these quick choppy cuts that they use for transitions, and like the purpose of it's to skip time for actions that are implied that are obvious they have to happen, that you don't need to see as a viewer. It saves us time. It stops feeding us every single detail. For example, if I'm making a film and in my film my character's outside and they trip and fall and scrape their knee, then I do these 4 really quick shots. I go from the person sitting on the ground with their scraped knee, quick chop to the person putting a band-aid on their knee, quick chop back to the same shot of them with their knee scraped, and you just keep flipping those back and forth until you just stop it at the person putting the band-aid down. Now, I skipped all the steps of the person maybe crying, maybe running inside, disinfecting and cleaning the wound, and I just skipped straight to the band-aid part. Because those are implied. When you scrape your knee, we as people, we're human beings, we live life. You scrape your knee, you get a cut, something like that, you disinfect it, and then you put a band-aid on it. And so it just saves us as the viewer time from having to see what the obvious is. And it also just creates another artistic flair to the movie. So I had to write that down. I liked it. I liked what they did with that. I felt it was a smart way to push the narrative forward without leaving us as the viewer out of anything. It was a smart choice. Another thing that I noticed throughout the film, they show this preacher preaching to these people in a church. He's shown on the TV in the gas station. He's, I think, played towards the beginning of the movie. You can hear him preaching on the radio in the van very briefly when they're skipping channels. And then they also show him Howard, the old man who owns the farmhouse. He turns his TV on and turns it all the way up, and the preacher is on there preaching to the people as well. And you don't really get any information on him or what's happening until, spoiler alert for anybody who's still watching that hasn't seen the movie, please go watch it. The preacher is actually the father of Maxine, who's our main character, played by Mia Goth, and he is actually where she gets this sort of mission statement that she always recites throughout the movie, something along the lines of I will not accept a life that I don't deserve, something along those lines. But he keeps repeating that on the TV, and then there's a part where they both say it at the same time. The reason I point that out is because I noticed that throughout the movie they use a lot of what they call God's eye view shots. So it's basically just camera shots looking straight down up above the scene. So there's a scene where Maxine is taking a swim inside of this lake, and she's swimming on her back, and you can really only see her face out of the water, but you're looking down on her. And I kind of took that as a representation of God himself looking down and watching the story unfold the same way we are, which is like kind of follows through with those common themes of religion and the preacher and all that stuff. So I just wanted to point that out. Maybe if none of you thought of it the way that I did, that that brings something new to you guys, maybe adds something else to the movie, makes you appreciate it a bit more. And also, I really just, as far as like cinematography and tones go, I really just want to point out the fact that the framing and the editing creates so much creepy fucking tension, makes you mad uncomfortable. Again, I said this in my Barbarian review. Things like that suck you in as a viewer. It grips your emotions. It keeps you in, keeps you on the edge of your seat. And I can always appreciate something like that. On my third watch of this movie, while I was taking my notes for this review video, I wrote a list of themes that I felt were the most prevalent themes throughout the movie that helped drive the main story. The most notable ones anyways were living the American dream, a person's desirability and influence changes as the person gets older, reflection, a lot of mirror imagery, especially between Maxine and Pearl, and then religion, like I said earlier. And we'll dip into a little bit of that as the review goes on, but I just wanted to have those themes listed out for you guys so they're in your mind as we go into talking further about this. One of the biggest ways that X separates itself from other slasher films Alright, that thing was fucking tickling my eye. I'm about to shave it all off. But anyways, one of the biggest ways that X separates itself from other slasher films is the characters. The fact that these characters are written with intellect, written with real personality, they're nice people, they have real emotions, and you can connect with them. And that is rare for a slasher film. Most of the time the characters are just there to fill space, kind of be cannon fodder, and then get killed. They're there for our enjoyment to watch them die, is essentially what they're there for. And that's not the case for X. You like all the characters. All of them kind of feel like their own in themselves. They don't really copy each other, which again is just another thing that drives this story forward and lets you stay connected into it. Even if it's a slow burn, you actually don't really mind it because you want to learn about these characters. You want to get to know them better. You want to see what happens to them. It's probably one of the biggest highlights of this film for me. And then on top of that, we get the most unconventional main antagonist of the film. We've seen, I think the only other movie that I can think of that I've seen that kind of plays off this as well is Don't Breathe with the old man. But we get the old couple, Howard and Pearl, who are the farmhouse owners. In regular society, elderly people are typically looked at as people to be protected and cared for. And so the way that Ti West takes that sort of normality or takes that narrative and flips it on its head and kind of attacks our fearlessness, because that's kind of what drives this movie forward, is the fact that you would not expect these people to do the things that they do. So you let your guard down around them, and then they take advantage of that. And that's what makes it so realistic, is the fact that if I knew an older person, an elderly person, somebody in their 90s, 80s were coming after me, they were trying to kill me, I could, at minimum, outrun them. Not to mention, I could probably overpower them, so on and so forth. The fact that those characters don't come off like that until it's too late is what makes this movie so interesting. What makes this type of story work so well is the fact that our main characters, they care. They're good people, so they want to help the elderly couple. They care about the elderly couple's well-being, and they take advantage of that, get them by surprise, fucking take them out, and that shit is fucking scary. It takes the least likely suspect, ramps it up to 10, and creates all these really uncomfortable scenarios and feelings. And what's crazier is the motivation that Pearl and Howard have for killing these people is the fact that they want to fuck, but they're too old, and they're jealous of the young people for being able to do what they want. Pearl, throughout the film, speaks as if she feels younger on the inside, but her age has caught up to her, and she's not beautiful the way that she used to be when she was young. And so, she's not seen as a desirable item anymore. And then Howard, he has health complications. He's afraid of having a heart attack, and so he can't. And that means he also can't please his wife. She kind of looks at him a certain way because of it. So it creates all of this weird tension that creates these feelings of jealousy and envy, and they extract that anger out on these younger people that come to their farmhouse. And like I said, it does come off very realistic, very grounded. Nothing in the movie happened that made me sit there and go like, okay, that's a stretch, which again just keeps you in the pocket. And to also add to that, to kind of branch off, there is a scene where Pearl and Howard do eventually have sex, and while it's not extremely vulgar, it's not extremely explicit, there is a little bit of bare skin. It's definitely something that makes you look away because you're uncomfortable. I think that's the purpose of it. I think Ti West does a great job challenging us as the audience to, first off, have to bear witness to these things that we're seeing. But really, when you think about it, you know, older people are just people. They still have feelings, they still have wants and needs. It's almost looked at as taboo. But if an older person wants to fuck, they want to fuck. And like I said, Ti West just takes a good job of putting the knife in and fucking twisting it and making you uncomfortable, but also making you think. I'd like to talk a little bit more about RJ and Lorraine's characters, again, played by Owen Campbell and Jenna Ortega. They're the boyfriend and girlfriend duo that are filming this adult film, RJ being the director and Lorraine being the boom mic handler. And going into the filming process, RJ never tells Lorraine what type of movie that they're making, so she has no idea. He just tells her that it's going to be a great movie. They're going to make cinema. He's a film student, a film student to the T, and he just wants to make a good movie, and essentially a good dirty movie. And at first, Lorraine is kind of depicted as a little judgmental. She's very quiet, and they give her the nickname Church Mouse because of it. But then, to everybody's surprise, midway through the film, Lorraine comes out and she says that if the movie's going to be a hit and they're going to make money, she doesn't want to just carry around the equipment and she wants to be a part of the film. RJ being her boyfriend and the director, he says no, he's not comfortable with it. And this is the moment where they get into this dialogue to kind of talk about sex and sex work in a very positive light, which is rare for most movies. Like I said, A24, they always hit these topics that most companies will not touch on, and they do it in perfect fashion. And I feel like Ti West intended to use this moment and kind of use the character of Lorraine to ask questions that should be asked in real life and create this dialogue that should be had in real life, in real time, with people in the world. And then they kind of use the rest of the group to answer those questions, to give you something to think about. They create food for thought for you, but it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel misrepresented. It feels very natural. It flows through the movie just fine. And it's just enough to get you thinking, but not enough to make you cringe and take you out of the film, which I appreciated. Like, the writing in this film is just so damn good. Ti West fucking killed it. And like I said earlier, this movie has prevalent themes of reflection and mirror imaging. So for those who don't know, Mia Goth actually plays not only Maxine, our main protagonist, but she plays Pearl, our main antagonist, which in itself is just, again, a mirrored image, a younger version, an older version. So that kind of fits into the theme just off rip based off that itself, which I'm sure Ti West intended for that. And then the first time that we actually see Pearl, there's this shot where Maxine is getting out of the van. She looks up at the house through the van window, and she sees Pearl standing there at the window looking down on her. There's two things that I took from this. One, I noticed that Maxine's window is down while Pearl's window is up, or her window's closed. And I kind of saw that as like Pearl's window is closed because her window of opportunity is closed now. She's older, she doesn't have the opportunities and the influence and the beauty that she once had, while Maxine is young, her window's open, her window of opportunity is open, and she has all the influence and the beauty in the world at that point in time. And then two, I also took it as Maxine is seeing the version of herself she could be, and Pearl is seeing the version of herself she used to be. And finally, one of the other things that I noticed is that there's kind of this overarching meta aspect to this film. In the movie, they talk about wanting to film a good, dirty movie. As a viewer watching X, or looking at X as an actual movie in real life, X is a good, dirty movie. There's dirty scenes, but the movie's fucking good. So it's like, that's where you kind of get that meta aspect from, is the fact that what they're talking about filming and doing in the movie is actually what Ti West filmed and did in real life, and then you go see the movie. So like, that's just another cool thing to tie it in. This movie just has so many nuances, so many little intricacies, and like I said, after you watch it multiple times, you start to pick up on those things and you can't help but appreciate it. If I had to give X a rating, I would give it a 9 out of 10 slashes for its unique twist on the slasher genre, its beautiful cinematography and framing, and the now uncomfortable feelings I have whenever I get around old people. Sorry, Grandma. Alright, that about wraps up my review for X, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out my video. If you enjoyed my review, make sure you comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave me something nice. Make me feel real fucking special. Turn on my notification bell. And if you aren't subscribed, subscribe. I'm a new channel. I'm a new person in this horror space. And I'm looking to connect with more people, and I hope you guys want to connect with what I got going on. Yeah, so that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much, and take care.